I've been drawing cartoons and comics for Malaysia for a very long time because I started when I was a schoolboy in the primary school. And, you know, I always look at things and remember that all this started from school days. You know? And the images of 1950s would come to me and give me, strength to do my work and try to look at things from a young person's point of view. No matter how old you get, I'm in my senior years, and I would look at things from, uh, the perspective of a young man. Because I remember the days when I started drawing. We were kampong people. I was born in the house in the kampong, Kampung Lalang, Kota Baru, Perak, not far from Gopeng, very close to Batu Gajah. And when I was 1 year old, my father already had a job in the army as a clerk. After the Second World War, we were told to learn English to get better job. So that's why he went to night school. My mom went to Methodist school in Ipoh in the 1930s. So she read English. As a matter of fact, I remember her reading the Straits Times. In those days, it was called the Straits Times. I would ask her, what's this? What's that? Because I didn't know how to read yet, especially English. During the independence, we were living in Mentakap, in the camp, and my mother was reading New Straits Times, and I saw a photo of a policeman with a cap, with the onde on top lah, the little ball, songkok with a little ball. I said, "What's this? What's the news? What about this guy?" Oh, she said, "This hat is going off. Now we are independent. Uh, the policeman hat will be a cap, will be new one. It's a cap, not a songko anymore." So she read it. That sort of example where I had with my mom. And of course, in the Malay school, I passed this exam, special Malay class exam, and went to English school Jalan Pasir Putih in Ipoh. So we were moving from camp to camp when I was a kid in the 1950s. But as I told you, I was still a kampung boy lah. Even in the camp, you go and climb fences to eat the buah leletup, and then with friends. And then we ended up in Keluang camp. We ended up in Kepala Batas Alustar. But finally, my father switched to Askar Wataniah, another branch of the army, and we moved back to Perak. That's how we ended in Kota Baru again. For almost 2 years, I was back to a real kampong boy. And then within that 1.5 years, I was told you have to go to better school. I mean, a higher school. Yeah, you have to go to Ipoh. The thought of moving, my God. The first thing for a kid, what? You got to move? So these friends you have made within the 2 years, they are really, I mean, you know them from way back when, because we would go back to Kampung Raya, Hari Raya, and we knew Kampung people, Kampung. And every time we would come back to the Kampung from far away, Mutakap, far away Kuala Lumpur, far away Alustar. In the car, my father had a car. He kept on changing cars. He had a Ford Prefect for a long time, and then later to Vauxhall. Yeah, all second-hand cars. In the car, I would be thinking about the river. So when we reached our home, they unpacked the bags, go into our house. I would be by that time jumping into the river, because that's the first thing we thought about, river. First of all, I went to secondary school. Anderson, wow, is a famous school. But all schools are the same, actually. It's just that I never knew I would end up in Anderson, which I am very proud of. But my friends from other schools, I got to know them, and they got involved in the same thing with me. At that time was literature. During the secondary days, literature was very important. Malay literature, English literature, was my favorite subject. Compositions was my favorite subject. Art, of course, but art, I just consider myself the best because in the classroom, there's a few people, a few fellows who could draw, and you always think you're better than them. But it's all that overconfident thing, but it's just we never worry about how we fare. When you draw, you draw. Those guys can draw, he can draw, we can draw, but you can draw too. And you try your best to draw something different from them. They would draw the normal thing. You draw an extraordinary thing, you know. You listen to music. Yeah, everybody listens to the same thing on radio because we were forced to listen to the same songs chosen by the announcer, but we want different songs. That's why our father's record player, we would borrow records from friends and exchange. Whatever you got, you got singles and you exchange. Before that, you exchange comics. So that sort of thing, that's the same background that everybody had. Yeah, but my father could draw. So when he gave me the drawing papers, he knew that this guy wants to draw. My mother knew. When I was, I would temenong lama. That means, yeah, my mother tahu. Itu nak beli pen, tak what. In those days, it was India ink, very cheap. But I couldn't afford it. You won't believe the price, 25 cents. Waterproof when dry. And dipping pen, holder, and nib, brush, pencil, of course. But I didn't depend too much on pencil. Pencil was what you want to roughly draw. Then you end up with the pen, the dipping pen. That's the only way I drew until today. My friends say, my relatives say, why do you draw your father so big? Yeah. But that was me showing probably authority. But he was quite big, just like me, a bit like me. I just wanted him to look funny and with authority. Even when I draw people, if I draw them a bit bigger than usual, it's to show authority. I got school friends whom I drew because we were in a school band or brass band. I drew them. And, you draw the captain, all that, bigger, Of course, in later years, they say, why did you draw me so big, Just to show you got, authority. Oh, I see, strict. Money, strict. When it comes to the regulations, the rules, you got to, he gave me the drawing papers, but he also twist my ears if I draw too much. You come from the back and, because I'd be drawing on the floor. And then reading the Jahama, which is the pre-Quran lesson, you got to follow. And then learning to pray, you go to the neighbors. There was a neighbor teaching, because maybe we will find difficulty in teaching our own family member. But, we were sent. And, all these rules I obeyed. I don't know, but I remember a lot of things. But you are here in this gallery. You see the photograph here. I don't remember this photograph. Only when I see them, I say, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's me. But it's amazing. It shows how open-minded my family were, and how much we travel around the peninsula, and how could we do it in those years? Traveling was the old road, trunk road, and you had to ride train, bus. You ride a bus. The Kara Highway in those days was not like today. Children would sit on the floor. children would sit on bundut. Bundut is, what is a bundut? Bundut is you put all your clothes in one big cloth and tie them and carry like this. That's the way we did it. All those things would come back. But I use this as a way of thanking them. You draw your mother, any mother in those days, ironing the clothes using the old traditional pestreka arang tu. It's very heavy and hot. You got to apa ni, air kipas, all these things we went through. All the families went through this. All the people went through this. Even you are with a family, even if you are living with guardians, these are the things the women did.
Yeah.
Today, if I ask my wife to to use that, well, yeah lah. Tapi everybody had that. The boys, there's me, there's Abdul Rahman, and there's Muhammad, the late Mohammad Khalid. The three boys were all into drawing. As a matter of fact, I have a feeling they can draw better than me. The girls not into drawing. Maimuna and Sophia, they well, Maimuna would follow the pop culture, but Sophia is much more reserved. Yeah. So Sophia is younger. The youngest is Mamat. Yeah, well, people would call you an artist. They say, "Oh, dia ni melukis, eh?" But when I was drawing for Berita Harian, when in the 1960s, it was a series that started in '68. I was in Form 4. And the series went for, of course, 4 years. But when it started for the first 2 years, I knew I was going into this sort of thing. I would do illustrations. Maybe at that time, it was impossible to think of a career of on cartoons. Being a cartoonist, you never heard of. But I would say this is the thing I want to do. Do illustration for a magazine, do illustration. Well, eventually, I said, do illustration for the newspapers. Of course, we wouldn't dare. When I got a job as a reporter, it was a question of survival. But I was not a stranger to that newspaper because I had already drawn for them. And the series went on for 26 years. Yeah, I had to stop it because I went into animation in the 90s. And of course, I said, my God, you've been around a long time. Give room for the others. That was 1970. I left school. My last school days were the previous year. 69 was a momentous year, musically. Oh, and I was thinking of going to Kuala Lumpur. My father was ill, always ill. I had to drive him. I had driving license, and I drove him. But I was looking forward to going to Kuala Lumpur as the eldest son to support my family. I have three other older brothers. They are from a different mother, previous marriage to my father, but we were close. But they lived far away, and I would join them only during school holidays in those days. So I had to tell my family that Kuala Lumpur is the place where I could get job in Berita Harian. But I spent the first 6 months of 1970 driving my dad. And then when I applied for a job, because I would make frequent visit to Berita Harian. I would travel by train from Ipoh, hand them new drawings. So every time I came, they were happy to see this boy and took me around. The late Samad Ismail took me to Dewan Bahasa, showed me around. The Dewan Bahasa people offered me column. Dewan Pelajar was a magazine for for kids. They gave me a column. So I had more income in those days. As a schoolboy, I had plenty of money lah. Before that, I drew for Utusan. Utusan Malaysia came out in 1967, and I drew for them under this column Janaka Pagi Ini. But the usual drawings that appear in there was by Rajab Hat, the late Rajab Hat, our mentor. He was the best, and he was, of course, he had got involved in cartooning much earlier. Cartoons are very sharp, all about life of the simple people. And then I and Mayari, we got to know each other. He came to our place in Ipoh. He was an army guy. So for my work to appear in the same newspaper as him, I'm left so far. My father was his fan. You know, my father would laugh at his drawing. But I knew Rajab would draw about married life, bringing up children. I still drew about crossing the street and going to school. So I said I got to go and send elsewhere. And so I sent to Berita Minggu, which is Berita Harian Sunday edition, but it's a weekend column. So they pay a bit more, and I was very happy when they accepted it. But we learn about how people react to the work bit by bit. We listen to what they say. I mean, people in Ipoh, friends, relatives would talk about it, and they would at the same time give suggestions. So when my drawing appeared in the Asia magazine, I sent them in 1973. They replied they will use it, but they only used it a year later, and I was paid quite a good sum in US dollars in those days. And was that cartoon, which is about the circumcision ceremony in the kampung, that made the Straits Times say draw for us. And of course, that started my column in the NST in 1974. Well, I must tell you, handling cartoons and illustration and comics, for me, is much more comfortable and easier, and I have much more responsibility that I can carry, with full effort than being a journalist. Well, I think I'm proud of the Kampung Boy book that I did in 1979. We published in 79. So it tells about myself. It tells about the Kampung people. And we are proud to be from, the village. I got married in 77. So me and Faiza, we lived in Jalan Cendrai Dua. We rented a house there, single-story terrace. So the back room was for me to draw. There are two other rooms. That one is okay, but I said don't go into the back room. That's where my drawings are all piled on the floor. There's a photo of me sitting on the floor, smoking kretek, thinking what to draw. The drawings papers are all over. Because I drew on the floor. I was so used to it. Even when I was a bachelor, I drew on the floor. My roommate, you know, some of them became big people lah. Parliamentary, adalah big name. But we were young bachelors. And he said to me, because he had a bed. I only on the floor with my tilam. I was already drawing for Straits Times. That means it was in 1974 lah. And he said, Lad, besok engkau famous tilam tu engkau boleh jual kat museum lah. In 74, when I started drawing for the Straits Times, it was, meletup lah. They suddenly realized, on a grand scale, they realized we need local humor. No, no, it's just that I managed to observe him work and talk to him. The work, I can just look at his books, comic book, and his illustrations in the newspapers. But talking to him, he just talk to you like a very simple person, and you just look at his equipment, a drawing utensil, and you suddenly knew that he's using a lot of brush. You knew that you won't bore him with questions, but you knew that he used the Pelican white ink, to write, to draw on dark surface, to draw white, or to make corrections, or to do pattern on shirts. Then you just learn from him. Yeah, there's a letter from Sinaran Brothers, the publisher, on what to use. I don't know whether that letter is here, but the letter here that I remember is the one accepting my comic, and the one that asking me to go to their branch to collect the check. It's all here. 1964. Yeah, but 1964 is so momentous that it's so difficult for me to describe lah. That was the year of a hard day's night. So I was overshadowed by in Ipoh. I was overshadowed by John Paul George and Ringo. Yeah. You know, hard day's night came. We all had a rendezvous at the Rex Cinema lah on Saturday, and everybody comb their hair, to the front because when the Beatles started, you comb your hair like this. How terrible we look, ah. I mean, my mother said dia orang ada hidung mancung, kamu hidung kemek, you know, flat noses. But it was funny because we promised each other have have a hairstyle, because we cycled to the cinema, you know. But that's the whole background of the life. In the 60s, many people just went crazy about music. Oh, there are many groups from UK. We learn English, simple English, and then we listen to the announcer. We listen to how he or she talk, and the way they describe the music, the way you feel about the music. Then you realize that the music has got stories, and which you discuss with your friends. Of course, when I was a reporter, there were other reporters who were brand new and who were on probation. In those days there were 3 month probation, and my colleagues, not only where I work, but from other newspapers, Bernama, you make friends, and you can tell this guy is really still, trying to understand about the job, just like me. And some of them just gave up. Others continue to become very successful journalists, newspaper people. In my case, I I was always proud of being there in the newspaper line, and always proud of being with the others. I was proud of my friends in the Utusan, in the Chinese press. There was so many newspapers. Tumpao, Nanyang Xiangpao, Xinchu Jitpo, Xinmin, China Press. So Tumpao and Utusan, they were ganging up. Straits Times, Harian, and Nanyang were ganging up. We share. But we were always pressed. We pressmen were always together. Especially when we went on trips, inaugural bus service, Kuala Lumpur, Singapore. This Mayflower tour bus. Yeah, wow, one bunch of us. You know, all we just singing all those days. There's no music. You just got microphone only. Uh, we went all the way to Singapore from Merlin Hotel, Kuala Lumpur to Merlin in Singapore. You know, because we were all regular newspaper people, and we had a good time. Inaugural flight to Hat Yai. I was chosen. You know, uh, I was into my own field, which is uh, art, comic, comic and cartoon. It's not that they cannot challenge or what. It's just me and the public. What shall I give them today, tomorrow, especially tomorrow lah, today? What is it I'm giving them? That's the thing I got to ask. It involves no one else except the public. I got to give them this, to give them the best. So although the story is mediocre and it's not about nothing, it's about us in our daily life, but it's got to hit them so that they say, ah, we are all alike. You know, that's it. That's it. Yeah, in the beginning, I was just drawing about regular Malaysians in their daily life. Uh, Simple things from their eating habits to what. So I got to play it safe. I didn't know where I was going. All I know is that there are three. I got to draw 3 days a week. And I want to please people. A lot of your work is judged by the whole country. Tomorrow. You know, so you got to give the best, but at the same time, it's you. You don't try to be somebody else. You don't want to try to pretend that you know more. No. Inflation. I didn't know much about inflation, but I can draw something about impact, how people react, how to solve it. Please, that's not my job. But friends say, we are this, we are, spending a lot of money and that sort of thing. I have to listen to them, but it's the way they react. Yeah. I drew the prominent people, which included politicians. And when I drew them, I wasn't thinking about their job. I was thinking more about them, about them as human beings. So uh, it's based on this. I think one of the first is Prime Minister Hussein On was to make a decision on salary raise when he can, which means after he came back from abroad. He was away. He was in the Middle East. Upon his return, he would announce about the pay increase of civil servants. I drew him on a camel because a camel cannot travel very fast. And he even told the camel, slow down a bit because he read that he got to make this announcement. So I think that's one of the first, but there were a few others. And they were the ones that I gave to the Malay mail without the knowledge of my uh, boss in NST, uh, later became Tan Sri Lee Siew Yee. Because if I give to him, he would reject it. So I give to Malay mail to S.H. Tan, the editor, who said to me, is this okay? I said, yes, this is okay. It's an UMNO thing. UMNO race for, leadership. And of course, he used it. And, Malay mail came out at 11 a.m. Our NST regulars would come at, around later lah. I mean, so they discovered that people like the political ones. Of course, I didn't consider it political. I drew more of these individuals without saying much, without saying my opinion. I like to draw this fellow looking like that. I like to draw this fellow looking like this. So it's more of a drawing thing. If the guy is in charge of anti-dada, Then he is a very thin fellow. So he almost looked like what addicts look like, you know. And the minister said, this guy, I'll get him one day, which means he approved it. No, I think so. You are actually in the media and communicating through the editorial page with drawings. You join the press. You know, those days we were called pressmen. Huh? You join the press, and eventually you got opportunities to travel and meet people. And I went abroad at an early age, and all over the world, although not as many as other people, but I went to many places and a lot of time. It was a frequent visit. So what taught me about being a newspaper man was I had to meet people every day. And when you meet them, you represent your newspaper. That's one thing. But you also represent yourself and your family, your people, your kampung, your state, where you're from. And you do that in Kuala Lumpur. When you travel abroad, you go to Japan, you got an invitation from the Japanese, you got invitation from the US. So when you go there, you represent your people. This guy with the bushy hair, you know, he does cartoons for a living. But when they look at you, they also look at your country. They also look at your race. He's a Malaysian. He's known for this book called Kampung Boy, which means a village boy. What is he like? So I got to be at the best of behavior. These people are offering their hand to you. You got to shake them. That means they are inviting you. We accept it with happiness. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's an honor, and the first thing you want to know is your counterparts there. I know so and so. I know so and so. The work of so and so. The work of so. Is there a possibility of meeting him, or there, chance of going to Manga Shudan, which is a persatuan cartoonist Jepun. So getting to know is the best that you could do. So you you go there with the best news, and you want to know the best. And you get there, you get to Tokyo the first time, you meet all these famous cartoonists, newspaper cartoonists, political ones. Oh, so these are big name, big name, big name. But when you go out and leave the room, the building, outside, there's a group of young people. They say, we are the young ones. We are the ones drawing for them. Those are really oldies, like what I'm today. You know, so they would say, come and look at our work. Of course, yeah, of course. But I know so and so has been famous for so long. I love it. I laugh at his comics, even though there's only a little bit of Japanese dialogue, but I understand. You know, and so these are the things that I had to take care of. I don't have much to say, but I think um, the best years of our life are when we children, and we were given a lot of advice when we were kids. We listen to our parents, we listen to our uncles, aunties. Eventually, you find that they were nice to you. They wanted you to be somebody good. Your teachers wanted you to be a successful person in this country. Whatever you do, Oh, I told them to draw daily if they have that interest, and they all belong to a club, an art club, to draw daily. Doesn't have to be a long time, but make sure you draw daily. Just like when I was young, I played the musical instrument daily. Uh, I play guitar, bit of the piano. I learned in piano class, but I didn't continue because of my work. And I realized that my knowledge in music is just like my knowledge in coloring, because I still Today, if I use watercolor, it'll be the same way I did in school. I didn't practice much. Yeah, you got to be, uh, you got to draw regularly. You want to drive to Port Dickson, and your children are all ready, and it's a Saturday. Sorry, it's a Sunday, and you have to pass up something to Straits Times. So the paper is blank, and your children are ready. They are small, and car is ready, wife is ready. You say just 1 minute, huh? So you draw something. You draw something really silly. It's about a traffic policeman, you know. You draw on the way, you know. We pass by straight time and just hand it over. I mean, and drive off. And it turned out that cartoon is popular. People laugh. You know, so it depends. It doesn't really, you know. But sometimes you always have something in your mind to say, one day I will draw on this, but you still haven't found a story yet. When the days when I had to draw regularly for NST, I would draw something stupid, you know, and then it's stupid, but some people like it. Some, as a matter of fact, some people like the one you draw in 15 minutes than the one you plan for a couple of days or a week. You know, you draw detail, background, so that when it comes out, you know, you're really into it. You really present it. But eventually, when it's time to pass the work, to pass up the work, and you finish the foreground, it didn't work very well. You know, well, you should be thankful for whatever you do. I see my friends who used to ride motorcycle to go to a factory, and then I see them eventually. They got old just like me, and they retired. They have their car, but they still ride their motorcycle, and some of them still work in the same factory, but they give their faithful service to that place. It's a factory. It's Dumax or whatever, but they work and they're happy. So I think that's what it's all about.